Voters are headed to the polls this morning. Joining us right now is the CEO of Schein. He is Stan Bergman. And Stan, it is good to see you. Thanks so much for being here.
Good to be here, Maria.
You're a Fortune 500 CEO. You just reported earnings. And tell us what the quarter showed and where growth is from your standpoint in relation to the Trump economy.
So, Maria, we had top-line growth normalized at about 5%, almost 5% actually. EPS growth of 18%, half of which is attributable to organic growth, and the other half because of tax reform.
So the economic policies out of this administration have been a boost to your company?
Well, I would say that the positive economy actually over the last decade, since the collapse of the economy 2008, started to get positive in 2010. But it's really, we've gained momentum in the last few years, driven by low interest rates, low tax rates, confidence by the consumer, and generally we're in a positive environment from an economic point of view in this country.
Stan, how hard is it right now to find qualified workers, particularly high-tech workers? We just saw Amazon saying it was splitting up its second headquarters because it couldn't find enough qualified people in any one area.
I would say that that's one of our larger challenges right now, finding good talent. It's specifically in the software development area, and we're trying to keep those jobs in the U.S. We want to keep them here because, of course, you have tremendous worker potential in this country, but we're experiencing challenges in bringing enough software developers and that kind of individual into our company.
Stan, what do you think ultimately is the solution? Is it going to be the companies hiring people literally out of high school? You don't need a college degree, and we're just going to educate you and teach you how to write code and develop software, as long as you maybe sign a contract to work here. I know that that sounds a little kind of out there, but it seems like ultimately it's on the companies and not the government to solve these problems.
We need both. We need the government to help educate the population, and that also includes taking people that are mature and teaching them about the computer world, the digital environment. So we need the government's involvement to a moderate extent, and then companies have to be incentivized to provide this education through various forms of incentives, from economic incentives to tax incentives.
So are you lifting wages? Are you paying people more to try to attract more people?
Wages are going up. To some extent, that is correct. But it's really the challenge is just to find people. We've always paid a very good salary, and we've provided very good benefits.
People who have the skill set that you're actually looking for. So healthcare, Carl, do you agree that that's one of the top issues? I mean, you know, Stan, your company is the world's largest provider of healthcare products and services to office-based practitioners. Your stock is up 1,000% since the IPO back in 1995. Do you think this is going to be an issue that voters will watch going in as they go to the voting booth?
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the #1 issue on the mind of voters.
Carl, what do you think?
Well, the health care issue is one thing, pre-existing conditions, which people have an emotional reaction to, even if it doesn't affect them. They're concerned about it being affecting a loved one. But other than that, I mean, it's a question of do I have do I have a good doctor? Do I have access? And what does my policy look like? And what's my company doing to help me?
I would agree with Carl. I think what is so important to the public is access to good health care. And in that connection, by the way, 18% of the GDP is going into health care, of which a huge part could be reduced if we focused on wellness and prevention.
That's right.
So that is key. I believe the public is starting to understand that. Public policy people are starting to understand that, and we need to focus on wellness and prevention to prevent people from ending up in the hospital.
I couldn't agree
and I think we're moving in a good direction generally in that area.
It's definitely part of the conversation now, wellness, getting ahead of disease for sure. Let's talk immigration for a second.
And the millennials understand that, by the way.
The millennials certainly do, older people do, by the way, also. But thousands of Central American migrants currently moving through Mexico. I want to get your take on the border. You are a naturalized American citizen, originally from South Africa.
Right.
So your take on the debate over immigration, Stan?
Maria, bottom line is we have laws in this country. I came into this country 100% in compliance with American laws. My wife and I, we have a family. Our kids are Americans. We're very proud of being Americans. We have these laws. We have to adhere to them. Having said that, we need to encourage educated people to come to this country. We need them. The economy is fueled by entrepreneurship. A large number of entrepreneurs are immigrants. If you look at the Fortune 500 CEOs, there are a lot of immigrants.
Right. Well, they came legally, though.
But we need to enforce the laws of this country.
Carl, what do you say about that? I mean,
I agree entirely. Look, we're a welcoming country. Most of us are a generation or two or three separated from immigrants. But we need to put a priority upon on getting people who are educated, who can contribute to the economy. And look, I don't understand why we bring these people to Stanford and our great institutions, train them to be software engineers or electrical engineers, and send them home to India or China or Korea to compete with us.
Watching that caravan
of educated. My grandfather came here. He never got past 8th grade. He sold eggs in the street, and all of his children went on to get educated. But does it have to be educated?
No,
or does it have to be motivated?
No,
we have to dial it a little bit more towards education and a little bit less. But that's my cousin. I mean,
it was a different time when your grandfather came and my grandfather came in 1903.
Well, it's not the government's role to make you motivated and to make you skinny. It's your own. That's personal responsibility. It's not the government's job to make you lose weight and make you give about your job.
But we need to find a way to get educated people into this country, and especially those, Carl, that we spend so much money to educate. We take them through PhDs and then they leave.
I'll tell you one thing, watching that caravan come toward the United States, I mean, this whole abolish ICE proposal from the Democrats could not have happened at a worse time with these pictures of the caravan. Stan, good to see you. Thank you. Stan Bergman.